world is more integrated than before. Climate is now a global agenda. It's not specific to any particular country or the industry as such, but it's applicable equally across all. And for countries like us, it's even become more important than the others. And that whole situation makes this a socialist agenda. Free trade agreement and bilateral relations cannot nurture purely on commercial terms any further. Mutual social development and climate improvement incentives build it. In the words of intellectual Jean Monnet, people only accept change in necessity and see necessity only in crisis. Each country will face its own moment of necessity, whether forced by crisis or chosen as best path. That moment is coming. In our case, that moment has already come, vis-a-vis in the form of climate compliance. Ladies and gentlemen, total vehicles currently in Pakistan are 27 million. And that would increase by 142 million by 2050. And out of which 10 million vehicles will be electronic, which will also be done at the back of substantial infrastructure requirement, which will include solar PVs too. Now, given that quantum of projections, the financing is only possible through progressive social agenda of inclusivity and tolerance for promoting climate financing. Best option to raise and address our external challenges, to tap into the subsidized, unutilized international funding which is out there, is through pursuing a climate agenda and climate compliance initiatives. At the starting point, we need to develop a repository of climate compliant projects that are out there in public sector and the private sector. And perhaps, and I would recommend, an authority needs to be enacted purely for this purpose, which will create a repository of all these projects across the country, and then work towards making their feasibility and tapping into the funding which is out there and available. And for financing the local projects, it's all about socializing risks and privatization of profits. We need to have robust private-public partnerships and viability gap fund frameworks in place across the provinces and at the federal government level to capitalize and funding of these projects which may not have a commercial appeal for private sector alone. The framework and regulations for blended finance is the need of the hour. Infrazamin Pakistan, which I had set up and was the inaugural interim CEO of it, is a case in point. Solar PVs and EVs will never be able to make an impact in the absence of robust blended financing frameworks, and perhaps funding targets to the financial institutions should be given in this respect. I also believe that startup PE funding, especially for equity contribution to climate related projects, is a must, which has to be set up in collaboration with international specialized financial institutions, which I believe Agora is already part of this discourse today. Given the intricacies and nuances, specialized climate financing financial institution is also something which worth considering and must be taken care of. Either the existing DFIs shall be mandated to become champion of climate financing, or a new entity is needed in collaboration with bilateral and multilateral development financial institutions and local partners to pursue this important initiative, where it's not just the financing technicality, intricacies and nuances which are required, but also technological understanding will become a key. The entire agenda of EVs and solar PVs is evolving fast. And this is about time that we will have specific agenda in place of how these projects will be financed going into the future. And let me reiterate what my take would be. Number one, start out with a repository of projects at the provincial and the federal government level, and that may be done through creating a separate authority Number two, private-public partnership needs to be fostered. Viability gap funds need to be introduced. Number three, we need to have startup PE funds in collaboration with the international funding institutions. And last but not the least, we would lead a dedicated climate financing, project financing institution to pursue this agenda. I'm very thankful to Pride and to Agora for soliciting my views on this very important discussion of solar PVs and EVs. Unfortunately, I have not been able to participate in the roundtable physically myself, but I thought I'll share my remarks with you nevertheless. Much appreciated.